As Kiev faded into ruin, power in the Rus lands did not disappear, it migrated. In the dense forests of the northeast, far from the devastated steppe routes, a small wooden settlement began to rise in importance. Its name was Moscow. At first, it was little more than a fortified trading post on the Moskva River. No one could have predicted that this modest town would become the nucleus of a future empire. Moscow's rise was not driven by geography alone. It was shaped by strategy, opportunism, and collaboration with the Mongol rulers of the Golden Horde. While other princes resisted Mongol authority and suffered destruction, Moscow's rulers learned to survive by cooperation. In the early 14th century, Prince Ivan I of Moscow, later known as Ivan Kalita, secured the right to collect tribute from other Rus principalities on behalf of the Mongols. This role brought wealth, influence, and political leverage. Moscow grew richer while its rivals weakened. Land was purchased, monasteries were founded, and fortifications expanded. Crucially, the seat of the Orthodox Church moved to Moscow. This transformed the city into the spiritual center of the Rus world. The alliance between church and prince would become one of the defining features of Russian political culture. By the mid-15th century, Mongol power had fractured. The Golden Horde splintered into competing khanates. Sensing opportunity, Moscow's rulers began to challenge Mongol dominance more openly. In 1462, Ivan III of Moscow ascended the throne. He would rule for over 4 decades and fundamentally reshape the destiny of Russia. Under Ivan III, Moscow ceased to be merely a principality and began its transformation into a centralized state. Ivan III pursued relentless expansion. Through war, marriage, and diplomacy, he absorbed surrounding principalities, including Novgorod in 1478. Novgorod's merchant republic, with its assemblies and traditions of self-rule, was dismantled. Its elites were deported, its independence erased. Centralization followed conquest. Ivan reduced the power of the boyars, the traditional aristocracy, and redefined loyalty as personal service to the ruler. Authority flowed downward from the throne. The concept of collective rule gave way to autocracy. In 1480, Ivan III confronted the Mongols directly. At the Great Stand on the Ugra River, Moscow and Mongol forces faced each other without battle. When the Mongols withdrew, their authority over Moscow effectively ended. The Mongol yoke was over. This moment marked the birth of a sovereign Russian state. Ivan III adopted new symbols of power, including the double-headed eagle, inherited through his marriage to Sophia Palaeoliana, a niece of the last Byzantine emperor. Moscow began to see itself as the heir to Byzantium. The idea of Moscow as the Third Rome emerged. Rome had fallen. Constantinople had fallen. Moscow, orthodox and autocratic, was destined, so the ideology claimed, to carry forward true Christian civilization. This belief would profoundly shape Russian imperial identity. Ivan III rewrote the laws, issuing a new legal code that strengthened state authority and restricted peasant mobility. Though full serfdom had not yet arrived, the foundations were being laid. When Ivan III died in 1505, Moscow was no longer one power among many, it was dominant. His son, Vasily III, continued consolidation, leaving his heir an unprecedented inheritance. That heir was Ivan IV. Crowned in 1547 at the age of 16, Ivan IV became the first ruler to take the title of Tsar, derived from Caesar. This was not mere symbolism, It signaled imperial ambition and absolute authority. Ivan's childhood had been brutal. Orphaned early, he grew up amid court conspiracies, violence, and neglect. These experiences left deep psychological scars and shaped his rule. At first, Ivan IV governed as a reformer. He surrounded himself with capable advisors, restructured the military, reformed taxation, and convened assemblies to legitimize his authority. Under his leadership, Moscow expanded eastward, conquering the khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan. The Volga River came under Russian control, opening pathways toward Siberia. But Ivan's reign took a dark turn. After the death of his wife Anastasia in 1560, Ivan became increasingly paranoid and violent. Convinced that the boyars were plotting against him, he unleashed a campaign of terror known as the Oprichnina. Ivan divided the realm into two parts. One he ruled directly with absolute power. The other was left to traditional administration. He created a personal force, the Oprichniki, who dressed in black, rode black horses, and carried symbols of death. Their task was to eliminate perceived enemies. Cities were terrorized, estates were confiscated, thousands were tortured and executed. Novgorod once again became a target. Ivan accused it of treason and ordered a massacre that devastated the city. The Oprichnina destroyed the remaining independence of the nobility and entrenched autocratic rule. It also devastated the economy, depopulated regions, and traumatized society. Ivan IV's foreign ambitions faltered. The Livonian War against Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden dragged on for decades and ended in failure. Russia gained no access to the Baltic Sea. Exhaustion, famine, and unrest followed. In one of the most infamous moments of Russian history, Ivan killed his own son in a fit of rage in 1581. The act symbolized the self-destructive nature of his reign. When Ivan IV died in 1505, he left behind a vast territory but a broken state. His surviving heir was weak. Institutions were hollowed out. Fear had replaced trust. The stage was set for crisis. Russia was about to descend into chaos, famine, and foreign invasion in a period that would become known as the Time of Troubles.